And a very good morning to you. Welcome to the News Super Review this morning. This is most definitely K24 Television. We'd like to know your views on the news as well. So as always, as you get up and tell us good morning, also chime in on the conversations we're having right here. My panel fully in place. Before I get to them, let's look at the daily's front pages and see what you're waking up to this morning. Start off with the front page of the People Daily. Huge cash deals in Narok alarm CBK. Governor says notable spike in wheat purchases using the old 1,000 shilling notes has caught the attention of the bank with only 5 days to the demonetization deadline. That's what the front page of the PD is leading with. Front page of the Standard. Cohen kin failed to lock Wairimo out. And as you can see the picture right there circling where Wairimo was as far as the burial was concerned. The billionaire's widow outwitted her in-laws and got the chance to lay her husband to rest in a private ceremony that was stormed by hundreds of angry and curious onlookers who later stoned the car that whisked her back to prison. Story that you can get as well in your copy of the Standard right there. Also on the front page of the Standard, Ruto scores early win in race to shape IBC. MPs allied to the DP have passed a new law that seeks to guide the hiring of electoral commissioners. That's the story that you can get on page 10 of your Standard there. Rain. Front page of the Daily Nation. Killer school owner still walking free. A day after the tragedy, police are yet to make arrests or hold anyone responsible for the loss of lives and injuries at Nairobi's Precious Talents Academy. Parents who lost their children recorded statements with police yesterday. I'm not scared of anybody, says Cohen widow. This, of course, alluding to the funeral that was carried out yesterday, the burial that was carried out yesterday, and the statements that she made as she was there as well. Front page of the Star, I know the killers. Sarah Wairimo tells mourners that Top Cohen's murderers were at the burial. Cohen's brother says Tycoon hid his relationship from family. The drama continues even as he's laid to rest, and that makes the front page of the Star. And finally, front page of the Business Daily. Kenya pays high price as perks for MPs up 3.1 billion Kenya shillings. The country's wage bill is now 17% above the global average due to unchecked salaries. And we'll be talking about that shortly right here on the show. As always, let me introduce my panelists to get into the big stories of the day. Ken Bosire from the People Daily Managing Editor. Good morning.
Morning, Chair.
Of course, nominated MP David Olesankok back from a brief break.
Yes.
And we'll be talking about, in fact, let me just ask, what was going on with Akothe in Parliament?
You know, Akothe is a Kenyan like any other Kenyan.
Right.
So I invited her for lunch in Parliament. She came. And, you know, from her history, I had to go to the gate, pick her, analyze her from all angles. And I realized she was well-dressed,
right,
officially dressed. I took her to Parliament. But then the sergeant-at-arms started complaining that her skirt was shorter. We tried to explain that it is not the skirt that was shorter. It's actually the legs that were longer. You know, if you have long legs.
Right.
In fact, if Honorable Alach put on that skirt, and then it will go below the knees. So I tried to explain. They did not listen. So I borrowed a lasso from one of the ladies in Parliament. And then we wrapped her.
You just invited her? Was there anything she was coming to do there?
Yeah, she was also coming to announce that she's having a lounge that is on Saturday on 28th at Weston Hotel to assist people in Turkana, to feed people in Turkana. You know, very funny. Everybody was now, it went viral. Everybody was there about the long legs. They did not try to dig out what she was actually doing, feeding Kenyans. You know, everybody was now interested with the long legs. Recently, I even donated wheelchairs in Parliament. Nobody was even watching.
We are really supporting our young people, going green, and so, yeah,
in solidarity.
In solidarity within that spirit.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Let's get to the big stories of the day. Look at the Business Daily's front page and headline there. Kenya pays high price in perks for MPs up 3.1 billion shillings. Now, salaries and perks for MPs increased by 28% or 3.1 billion shillings in the year to June after the lawmakers pushed for suspension of pay cuts from the SRC. This is a story that we've spoken about for quite a while. Of course, we know we're in a phase where we're supposed to be going through austerity right now. But the big question is really, how do we even justify this in the House? Honorable Sankok, I can see you pointing toward Bosire, but it definitely comes to you and we start from there on this conversation. When we get to the House and we can see your wage bill has gone up, yet when you go to the ground, mashinani, you can see people are suffering. How do we justify this among ourselves in the Honorable House, in the August House?
I've not had a chance to go through the issue of the wage bill, but the 28% increase I think it is across the board, because there is also increase in our staff salaries. There's also increase in generally even salaries of any other member who is a state officer. I think normally they get a pay rise of almost 10 or 15% yearly. So if there is a near income much focusing on members of parliament.
No,
let me tell you about the judiciary. Let me tell you about
before we go, because this is what usually happens. Anytime we ask a member of parliament about their wages, they never say that it's wrong. They point to the other side, so that yes, we're earning a lot, but the executive is also
we are not pointing to another side. I'm just saying across the board. We with that budget of salaries at 200,000. It must increase.
I'll come back to you on that. Madam Elanchi, let me bring you in on this as well, because we're looking at a point where the government is having a hiring freeze. They're not hiring more people. They're looking on where they can cut expenditure. Yet we're seeing, when you look at the budget as a whole, yes, Honorable Sankok says it has increased in terms of how much we're going to spend, but you look at the amount within the budget that's going to recurrent expenditure, salaries, it's still too much, even as we increase the budget overall.
I think it is in the whole government. It's only that now the media will pick on, but for this one, I'll tell you, the whole, from the executive, the whole, depending on just the way they increase 15% of whatever the government says, it is picked with all, you know, and that's how you come to your minimum wage. And but the standard is, even I know in government it has increased. What we need to ask ourselves is, as a country, you know, we must have a conversation on it, so that we stop thinking this side there is a lot and this side no. You'll be so surprised, because when you look at the policy of SRC, it's not just for Parliament. So you need to go and ask yourself, the pecs that a member of Parliament have, is it the same pec that a judiciary officer has? Is it the same peg that somebody in the executive has for the ministers, the CASs, the PSs, and all that? The moment you get that, we will come out of this thing, and now we will start understanding that we need to have a conversation across board. Because for sure, as much as you hit so much on Mheshimiwa or even me, in the morning today, I have had how many people who have just called, we are stuck, we need matanga. You'll never get that, you. The CSS will never get that. But the member of parliament is constantly on a push again on a welfare within his constituency or her constituency of people, and you have to go there. And so there's always, I've always said, until one day the media will work with an MP for 1 week, then you come up here and analyze, and then now ask a different question. Now tell me, how do you normally do all these things? And how do you ensure you are able to take care of all manner of welfare that people come and tell you, we have a body and it needs to go home. Then you look at them and you wonder, so what do? You start changaring, oh, Mheshimiwa Sangok, give me kidogo, you put together, this body goes. Tomorrow, there is another one with the same problem. So until also Kenyans change their way of thinking that Mheshimiwa has to come and deal with my hospital bill, deal with our matanga, deal with my wedding, we will not have a conclusive discussion in terms of this. But I know, yes, the country has a huge wage bill, but we always point it at a very wrong place. Right. Because if it is the pecs in terms of traveling, imagine it's the same. So you imagine how many members do we have? How many staffs, civil servants, people don't know, who go out. First of all, them, they are very lucky. You go for studies even for 3 months. You are on a payroll, you are on study, it is being paid by government. A member of parliament can never have such an opportunity. Until you can live for 2 months, even 1 month for studies.
It's no, a maximum of 7
you can't.
But let me bring in on this, because as always, they will play victim.
No, I'm not playing victim.
Yesterday it happened before we had
I'm just saying, first of all, no, this pay is from the executive to down.
All the way down.
All the way down.
And they say that, you know, yes, you might give us a certain amount of money, 700,000 shillings, and this is for oversight and the roles that I have. But on the ground, there's what is now being called social taxes. You get there and you need to help in the Harambe and all of this. And it's almost a chicken and egg scenario. Who's supposed to give, who's supposed to demand here?
For me, Jeff, is a very disturbing thing. the MPs and other elective posts would be the first people we look at, because they have a unique position in that state office thing. Because they are the people we elect, and we expect leadership from them. Because if you look at, if you're a leader, then if you live a certain lifestyle, what do you want your subjects to be? That's where the conversation begins. Are we doing this for a select elite? How about the people out there? That social tax will keep increasing as long as that perception is there that you have. And what we have in this country is we need a paradigm shift. What is our governance? What are our governance ethos? How do we, first of all, make our leaders? Is it because they come and buy us to our votes? Is it because we see certain qualities in them that will change the life of our country, the welfare of our country? And that is not the case. So they are victims of their own selves, because when they go out there, they literally buy our leadership. They have to give this, they have to give this. For once, I would like to see our elected leaders beginning to have that conversation, because there's an element of trust where you need to begin to say these people, they are the social structures. If we had functional institutions, hospitals, healthcare, and other things like school systems, we wouldn't go to the MPs. It's them who have refused to put in systems that will ensure that we win ourselves of their pockets, as they say.
Right.
And I think it's very disturbing that the bulk of Kenyans, because they're also not helping in terms of boosting productivity of the country. This is a country that many of us think is a huge supermarket. Our productive agricultural systems are down. What are the policies that are being formulated from this parliament, from these leaders, to ensure that we boost productivity and empower the people out on the ground, so that I don't have to look for 10 shillings from Mheshimiwa to buy aspirin?
Right.
It's a very depressing conversation we're having in this country. We live very artificially, that we have a class of people there who we continually tax from a very small group of people. And then the base is very huge, all with all their palms stretched out to us. Mheshimiwa Elijah says that we do not get these things. I get those things every day. It's not just the MPs. I get them every day. If I opened up my mailbox here, it is about, I'm stuck in town this evening, I'm going to hospital. It's a whole thing. It shows that the dependency syndrome in this country, the poverty is real, and we can't afford to cushion one small group. We need to say, for once, let's share the little that we have, and the fundamental thing goes down to where? How do we empower every Kenyan to knock off this thing? Yeah. We will always think, even if it's not real. It's true that MPs and elected positions, they're almost our ATMs. Each time you feel something, you have to press a finger so that they give you. That's because of the structure that has been said and failed leadership. And one thing that I find very hypocritical, at one time the top leadership, the executive, announced that they were going to have salary cuts. Why have they not announced that we are given something, we have also given it up? We need to have a leadership that also speaks to its actions, not a leadership that makes pronouncements and the next thing you don't know. If this has been, I've not had a pronouncement. Was it ever affected? Who checked that it was affected a salary cut? They said we'll take a salary cut. A popularity stunt. And this is what we suffer from this. An honest discussion, honest actions that follow our own pronouncements.
And let's have Ole Sankok in on this as well. To solve this once and for all, what honest discussion do we need to have? Because if it's across the board, then clearly there's an issue. We have a couple of years, we get into campaign mode again. And I think that's where the transaction starts. Once you give me money when you're campaigning, I expect more of it in your 5 years in office.
Exactly. Jeff,
so how do we change this across the board?
Jeff, let me first of all tell you that I was economically very comfortable before I became a member of parliament. And I ever regretted becoming a member of parliament. And trust me, that I will not go for a second term. I'll finish with one term. I go back to business. I go probably to United Nations as a special advisor on disability issues, because it is just too taxing. Let me assure you. Everybody feels that they owe you. You owe them something because they elected you. You are an elected leaders, and there are even political brokers whose work is to wake up early in the morning, look for Mheshimiwa, wherever they are, especially somebody like me who is branded, who can be seen from far, and then all sorts of problems. Go today to Intercontinental Hotel, find several brokers just waiting and we're laying leaders. And I think we'll cut this one once and for all. First of all, from you, the media. Let us discuss the issue of salaries and the wage bill across board. Just like what Honorable Elachi had said, that everybody, you don't normally discuss about this, the public servants. How many CSs do you have in this country? How many principal secretaries do you have? How much do they consume in terms of fuel gasoline? And it is not the issue of pay cut. You know, pay cut, 20,000 per each cabinet secretary times 20 cabinet secretaries, it amount to nothing. But I can assure you, there is a formula in which we can cut our recurrent expenditure once and for all. One, let us say, just like members of parliament, let everybody in the office buy their own tea. Because members of parliament, you pay for your own tea. Let everybody in any office buy their own newspaper. Let everybody in the office come with their own tissue paper. I'm assuring you, in government offices, we use almost 1 million tissue paper in a day. And because they exaggerate the prices, they buy each tissue paper at 50 shillings. That is 50 million Kenya shillings that we can save in a single day. Let us just start from that basic. Let us not go to pay cut and other things. Just say, buy your own tea, no tea in offices. No government will buy newspapers. You can read through social media. No
flowers.
Or whatever. No flowers.
Every week.
This traveling, and there is no advisors. If you are a cabinet secretary, you are supposed to know and to have your feel at your hand. Now the political advisor on these issues, advisor after an advisor, 10 advisors. Yes, why are you advised? If you are not capable of performing your duties, then resign. There is a Kenyan who does not require all those advisors.
Right, so you feel it's about cutting expenditure in the executive and various arms of government. From where you stand, Elachi, okay, fine, you've spoken about wages across board. Where else do we get this discussion done? So as we talk about this next time, we're talking about moving in the right direction and not going around the same debate that you're paying too much and we are not getting back our money.
I think it's for just Kenyans to sit down and ask, not just a direction, put in the services that Kenyans need. And those services must serve to reduce that burden of people having this dependence syndrome, which is not very good, first of all, because that is what has made parents, you see, CDF has to build for me this. Government has to take for me. Also parents, we must take responsibility of some of these things. Yes, we have poverty. Yes, we have a lot of challenges. But also, the Bible says you have to work for which I know Kenyans are trying to run away from that. And you remember Kibaki was a bit strict. And we started reawakening ourselves up and following what his policy was, that you must work for what you get.
Right.
And I think we've come, and I'm sorry to say, as Jubilee we came in, we tried again now to kill that spirit of working and trying to show we can do this, but then the systems are not working. And now Kenyans also, we've closed many doors, you know?
Right.
So we might be blaming also Kenyans, but also as government, we've closed many doors for investments based on our character, on how we are dealing. I mean, I was looking at this issue of Del Monte, and I'm very worried.
Yes.
I mean, when you say you're leasing and taking back the land the way these people did in Zimbabwe, and look at how Zimbabwe just went,
right.
we must ask ourselves the capacity of who is taking over Del Monte to ensure the workers will still remain there, that you will still import, you'll still have that export. And definitely, the moment you leave, you remove them, where they used to export, you'll not be allowed.
Right.
They will refuse.
So it's an enabling environment.
So there are some, there's also need of an enabling environment for the investors to trust Kenya, to not run away to Magufuli, not run away to Rwanda, where they are having, and now young people are getting jobs there. While they are saying Kenyans are the best who can work, but because of the environment and all this manner of things we've put, even in the constitution, we must relook this thing. And I'm begging Mheshimiwa Sangok, we must relook the thing of investors, or else we're going to lose all our investors and we're going to lose the jobs even. We won't even have. Lastly, let me just read for you. If you want to know how Kenyans are very interesting. So this voter rejects MP's 350 lunch accuses him of being mean. So, a first-time member of parliament from Luo Nyanza was at the weekend embarrassed by a voter who rudely rejected his lunch offer. The lawmaker is said to have promised the man some money for lunch and proceeded to M-Pesa 350. The voter reportedly expected the honorable member to dish him some good money and found it offending for the lawmaker to give him such a small amount. He refunded the money, meaning you can even afford. Why are you asking Mheshimiwa? If you find 350 is small, then don't beg, because Mheshimiwa has more than another 1,000 people on that day who will be asking for lunch.
Okay.
So you can imagine how we are in a character. And this is what I'm saying. It's very sad.
Okay, fantastic stuff. And of course, as you can see right there, it cuts both ways as far as this is concerned. But also, as we're saying, as we move closer, we each have a role to play as far as this is concerned. Even Mheshimiwa there, in terms of the lunch, if those people had jobs in that particular area, probably they wouldn't be all these people coming. I'm saying the others. There's one who refunded.
Yes. Because he found the 350
in fact,
and the other genuine cases.
In fact, the professional beggars are actually people who have money. These brokers who live in Nairobi, where do they get money even to pay? And they don't have jobs just to go and waylay.
Let's take a short break at that particular point in time. We're coming back with plenty more right here. As always, you can get your feedback in at K24 TV. You can also SMS us on 21222. Bob Bueno saying, say jambo to British Salachi. We see them in green with Honorable Sankok. Are they officially Gor Mahia fans? It was in solidarity with the climate. They have said, and that's what's happening. Right? They keep those tweets coming in at K24 TV. Take a short break. We're back with plenty more right here. This is K24 this morning.
Now, we review and elaborate more on the newspapers with our special guest panelists and political analysts on K24 This Morning. Next, live county briefs, country's current affairs and trending news on The Daily Brief. And later, business news and top interviews that shape the